All right, welcome. Today, we're going to go on a journey. We're going to follow an innovator who is completely remaking hearing care. And it's a path that starts with a really frustrating clinical problem and ends up in a future that's, believe it or not, both super high-tech and way more human.
So let's meet our innovator, Raul Sanchez Lopez. Now, before we get into his resume, his patents, his PhD, let's just start with his mission. This one sentence right here. This is the engine. This is what drives everything we're about to talk about. It's not about the tech just for tech's sake. It's about making people's lives better.
So how does someone even get to a place where they can start to reshape an entire field? Well, it all starts with a journey. One that's full of purpose, passion, and, as you'll see, some serious grit.
Raul's story begins in Spain, where he was a clinical audiologist, working directly with patients on the front lines. And he saw firsthand the limits of the tools they had. He just felt this pull, this need to do more. So that led him all the way to Denmark, where he had to learn a totally new language, tackle a whole engineering degree, all while working and dealing with family illness. It was this grueling 7-year journey, driven by this one idea. He wanted to innovate from the ground up.
Okay, so now let's get to the heart of the problem he was so obsessed with solving. It's this challenge that's kind of stumped audiologists for decades, and it's all captured in one single, really frustrating phrase. I mean, this is probably one of the most common complaints you'll ever hear in a hearing clinic. A person can pass a standard hearing test with flying colors, but then they go to a noisy restaurant or a family dinner, and all the words just melt into a blur of sound. They can hear everything, right? But they can't understand what anyone is saying. So how do you even begin to measure, let alone fix, a problem like that?
Well, the answer is a pretty groundbreaking test called the Audible Contrast Threshold, or ACT for short. It was designed to do one very specific thing, to finally put a number on that hearing but not understanding problem. For the very first time, clinicians could actually measure this specific, incredibly frustrating struggle.
And this is a huge shift in thinking. You see, traditional tests have you repeating words, which means your results can be affected by your vocabulary or even what language you speak. But the ACT test, it's totally different. It's language independent. It measures your brain's raw, fundamental ability to pick out a sound from background noise. It's a much purer measurement. Oh, and it takes less than 2 minutes.
And here's where you see the human touch behind all the science. During a brainstorming session, Raul just threw out an idea. Hey, what if we made the test signal sound like ocean waves? And that idea was so powerful, his boss literally kept the post-it note where he sketched it out. It's just a perfect little reminder that even in super advanced audiology, that spark of creativity really matters.
So creating a better test was a massive leap forward, a huge deal. But it was really just the beginning. The next step was to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the entire system, the whole clinical workflow, and how to fix a system that was really under a lot of strain.
The reality is, in a lot of public health systems, like in Denmark or the UK, the demand for hearing care is just overwhelming. I mean, we're talking about wait lists that can stretch on for over a year. And the clinicians, they're brilliant, but they end up spending so much of their day on repetitive mechanical tasks. That leads to burnout, and it creates these huge bottlenecks for patients who just need care.
So the solution here isn't to replace the audiologists, it's to empower them. Just imagine a workflow where a patient can walk in and perform a super reliable, automated hearing test all by themselves on calibrated equipment, right there in the clinic. This one step frees up, say, 20 minutes of the audiologist's valuable time. Now they can focus on what humans do best: counseling, empathy, and digging into those really complex cases that automation just can't touch.
This better workflow, this higher quality data, it's all pointing towards a much larger goal, an idea called precision audiology. You see, for way too long, fitting hearing aids has relied on these kind of one-size-fits-all formulas. The new goal is to use data from powerful tests like ACT to create a truly personalized, custom approach for every single patient.
So what does this actually mean in the real world? It means we're shifting from guesswork to data-driven decisions. By analyzing all this richer data, clinicians can start to spot patterns, they can identify different subgroups of patients, and they can move way beyond just a generic starting point. The end goal here is a precise, tailored solution for each person's unique hearing profile.
So when you put all of these pieces together, what does it all mean for the future? Well, as the technology gets smarter, it doesn't just change the tools we use. it fundamentally changes the role of the expert themselves.
As automation and AI start to handle all the routine measurements and the data crunching, the audiologist actually gets elevated. Their job shifts away from being a technician, a tester and fitter, and it moves toward being a counselor, a strategist, a problem solver for the toughest cases. Their human skills, empathy, communication, clinical judgment, they become more valuable than they've ever been.
Of course, whenever you have powerful new tools like AI, you have a huge responsibility that comes with them. The guiding principle here has to be that AI is an ally. It's a tool. It's not an infallible oracle. That means we need transparency in how the AI models work, and it means we have to be crystal clear that the final accountability for a patient's care always rests with the human clinician.
And this really brings us to a final, much deeper question. Is the ultimate goal of all this technology just to amplify our hearing? Or is it maybe to amplify our own humanity by freeing up experts to provide more empathetic, more connected, and in the end, more human care? It's something to think about.